What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV, aka Darth Apocalypse. So before I get into this video, I want to give a shout out to the brother, the man, the myth, the legend, the brother Robert Mason coming through with a $40 donation via the PayPal. Salute to you for showing love once again to Too Raw for TV. A couple of weeks ago, y'all might remember I did a video um, giving my commentary on a Pele documentary that I had watched. And someone had asked me to check out a movie that came out 10 years ago called Pele, Birth of a Legend. So I finally was able to watch it today. And I'm very glad, very, very glad that I did watch the movie. I'm glad I did because although the documentary that I watched, which focused more on Pele's World Cup performances, 1958, 1962, 66, and 70, and that's what made him a legend. I believe they won, he and Brazil, they won 3 or 4 of those World Cups, and I believe Pele is still, I believe he's still the only player to win 3 World Cups, and he was the best player in all 3 of them. I still didn't, I still didn't quite grasp why Pele was so and is so beloved by Brazil. And this is another thing that pisses me off about modern day sports is that you never hear his name brought up. And if you're younger, you don't quite understand or grasp why he was so and is so beloved 3 years after his passing, why he is still so beloved. It's because not just because of his greatness as a player, not just the skill set, not that he was just, not just because he was so innovative in the sport and popularizing a particular style. I believe it was called the Jingga style, excuse me. It's not just that, it's the validation of a people and of a race. He, in his own way, he wasn't vocal like Muhammad Ali, but just his play and the inspiration he gave to his teammates and subsequent generations of Brazilians, and I would say common folk, regular folk, is what made him so popular. So Pele, which is not actually his real name, and his real name is, I keep forgetting his real name. His real name, it was Edson Arantes do Nascimento. And I believe his nickname was Dese, I believe it was. Not very good with, foreign names, but I believe his nickname was Dese or Dede. I think it's Dese. And the movie starts off with him as a child. And, he was very, very poor. So poor that, he couldn't afford shoes. He and his friends, they were from the slums, and they loved soccer, what we call soccer, sometimes called football. But they were so poor that they couldn't afford the equipment that more affluent and more privileged people or kids had. So they had to, get socks and ball, sort of have them stuffed together and maybe have rubber bands or tape around it to make it form a makeshift ball. And they would play in the streets in that manner. And I'm pretty sure he also acquired some of his athletic ability from his father. His father, who I'm just going to go with what he was called. His father name when he played was Dondito, and he was a great player in his own right. Um, Great in the late 1930s, but his career was ended by a serious knee injury. And in the movie, you could see his father with this permanent limp. And there's also another dynamic in the movie that I want to talk about before I get sidetracked and forget about it. The mother, Pele's mother, the father's wife, she was heartbroken when Dundijo suffered the injury. So much so that she became against the sport. She thought it was a waste of time. Uh, she thought that it was a game destined to, you know, break people's heart. It was a waste of time. It was for the affluent, and she didn't really have much interest in it anymore. She seemed annoyed when kids were playing it because I guess it just reminded her of pain, the pain that her husband felt, and also how it changed the trajectory of possibly of what their life could have been. So she initially discouraged her son from even participating in it. It wasn't from a place of hate; it was from a place of protecting him, I think. But the father, as many fathers do, want the kid to have a better opportunity than him. And I guess a part of him wanted his son to embrace this sport and potentially live off and live the dream that he couldn't have, right? So that was a dynamic in the movie too, and I love that this was a very positive portrayal of I consider a black father. I know they'll say Brazilian, but if you're Afro American in your appearance, I call you black. Okay, that's another thing that's very prominent in this movie is it displays the insidious class system and colorism that is very prominent still in today's society, even more prominent and more wide open then. Um, when Pele and his friends, when they were kids, would try to play with the other kids who were more prominent, they would call them the shoeless ones or something like that. And another thing that was very prominent and noticeable in this movie is whenever the darker skinned Brazilians and the more who tend to be the poor ones, whenever they would interact with the more affluent ones who I guess are Portuguese, excuse me, or lighter complected, they tended to look down. They got, you just noticed that they didn't see themselves as equal. And, that's something that is, I think, very, very noticeable in the movie. But what's funny? The Brazilians who were more affluent in the movie felt the same way, ironically, when they interacted with white Europeans. Then they felt ashamed. They didn't feel equal. So that goes to show you that, and it kind of mirrors sometimes things that we see in the black community, where I hate to say it, but there is oftentimes a dynamic of light skin versus dark skin within even the black community, which goes to show you colorism exists. It does. And it's not always, anti light skin or anything like that. Yeah, you have some light skins who think that they're a better version of black people, but then you have some dark skinned people who think that they're a more authentic version of black people. So this dynamic is insidious as it is. It exists, and this movie touches on it a little bit if you read between the lines. But Pele, his gift is exceptional, so much so that a former professional player turned scout, discovers him and wants to encourage him to try out for some local leagues to see if he's good enough. The mother was very adamantly opposed to it, but then she changed her mind when she saw Pele practicing with the father, and he was so joyful, and she could see that his skill set was equal and possibly would surpass that of the father. So she changed her mind. But Pele also had the promise to work hard and to work, hard in school and to improve his grades and show effort there, which he did. So ultimately, he began to play on a local level, and he was excelling. But it was something that a lot of coaches didn't like about his style of play, and that was that he played in what's called the Jingga style, which I guess is more of I guess a good comparison would be like maybe 50, 60 years ago in the NBA. If you were flashy, they would call it street style. It's not how you're supposed to play basketball. You're supposed to play it, the formulaic, traditional way. But really, the Jenga style was considered like the slave style. Like it's not a winning, it's primitive. That's not how you're supposed to play. You're supposed to play a traditional, i.e., the European style, right? Less trickery, less flash, um, the proper way of playing football/soccer. And they kept trying to suppress Pele from expressing himself on the field the way that his natural genius was to flow. And ultimately, when his style of play led to success, it chipped away at this perception that not just Pele, but Brazilian soccer players were inferior. At that time, Europeans dominated soccer/football, and there was an inherent belief that Brazilians or anybody from a darker race were inherently inferior, and they would openly mock these players. The press would too, the media would. And they had been humiliated in 1950, the Brazilians. I think the Europeans won in 1954. So we fast forward to 1958, and Pele at age 17 is the youngest, I think, person still to this day ever to participate in the World Cup. It didn't look good, the odds. But when Pele and his teammates went out there, and in the movie, you see for the first time they are as one as a team. And there's something that the announcers note too. They said, look, they're smiling. And that's because for the first time, they saw themselves as equal, or I don't want to say this in a bad way, superior to the Swedish players that they were playing against. I don't mean superior as people, but they felt they were the better team. They were the better players. And they had to get past this mental block that was holding them back. And Pele was the key to that. And Pele excelled and dominated. And they beat the hell out of the Swedes. And I said there was another dynamic going on at the same time. The mother had been so hesitant to fully embrace the sport. She listened on the radio. She was at home while the father was with the local. I hate to say village, but it was a small village. The local village people, they were listening and watching on the television at like a local bar, and she went there for the first time. She actually went there and watched Pele because she was so afraid to embrace Pele because she saw what happened to the father. So that was a beautiful moment in the film, and it just goes to show you how a lot of sports is psychological. It's not always about physical gifts. If you don't have what it takes to win mentally, then the physical gifts only going to get you but so far. So that's the main reason why Pele is so revered, especially in countries that are third world, countries that have a large minority population. It was symbolic. He predates Muhammad Ali, by the way. And as a kid, I never got it. I get it now. I get it more. And it's sad that it took me into my 40s to fully comprehend why he has a national holiday in Brazil, uh, why he is considered a national treasure for the past 60 plus years in Brazil. It never dawned on me. I said, well, I know he's great, but why all the fuss? And now I get it. Now I truly understand. And he also, I don't want to just say him, but I mean, he was clearly the best player. I mean, teams had to double and triple team him to try to contain him. He was that dominant. But not just that year. He changed the perception of a race. They thought that we were inferior. We could not beat them. We couldn't outthink them. And he also opened up opportunities for other uh, disenfranchised and I hate to put it like this, but downtrodden people to have the opportunity to play soccer. He made soccer more attainable for lower income people and disenfranchised people. So that's why when Pele passed away, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago when he passed away, I thought it was a disgrace that ESPN didn't have a segment on him. They just scrolled it across the screen and kept it moving with more LeBron coverage. That's not even a knock on LeBron. That's a knock on ESPN. This is why they're disgraceful. I also want to give a shout out to Vincent D'Onofrio for his performance in this film. I forget the man's name, the team manager. Let me see if I can. Let's see if I can find his name. Vincent D'Onofrio. He portrayed Vicente Fiola. He was the head coach of the 1958 World Cup team, and he did a great job. And Cole Meany played the head coach of the Swedish national team. Cole Meany, I always remember him for Con Air. But anyway, he was the main antagonist against what's his name, John Cusack in that movie. But anyway, salute to you guys. Check out this movie. Tell me what you guys think.